Yeah,
destroy things.
let's talk about that. I'm actually going to open up like a pricing document because it's just easiest for me to like kind of picture.
Yeah.
Um, so how are you currently pricing your services?
Uh, Pretty much starting off, and we're rebranding, so it's all going to change, and we're doubling all our prices come 2020. But it's usually and we're pricing it based on population
Interesting.
because
So,
it's easier to rank on a lower populated.
okay.
Um,
And are you going to keep that model?
for local, we're thinking about doing two different pricing structures. So if you're a local small business and you only want to rank in, say, Sedona or Tuscaloosa, and it's, I don't know what under 100,000, it's going to be $1,000 a month or $1,500 a month or
Okay.
whatever. And then if you're in 100 to 200,000, it's 2,000 and
Okay.
or 250, and then 250 up goes to 3.
Gotcha. Okay. That's a pretty significant raise. That's good, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You're going in the right direction. But have you figured out? I don't think you have to price your. I think that's a good pricing model for you. But do you know what your hourly rates correlate to?
No.
Okay. And the reason why I ask, you probably haven't gotten the staffing module yet. I think that's the last one. I talk about it quite a bit in there, where I just talk about it's really important to understand hours, because now that you're hiring people, you're going to be managing people, you've got to have them on some sort of hour system just so you can quantify, kind of
Right.
how much you're paying them, but also the output of their work, right? Because you need to know how long it's going to take other people to get stuff done so you can build your proper project plans. And then that would also feed back into pricing as well, right? So, if you're spending more hours than you should be on something, then you're probably not profitable there. And that really feeds into what I want to talk to you about in terms of like building kind of like an hours based strategy so you can control your people internally, and then also justify your costs externally. You don't have to show them the hours, obviously, but it's just a way to manage your resources. You know what I mean? Because when we're talking about local versus what's in the blueprint is like, as you said, it's much more expansive, right?
Yeah.
But you want to understand how many hours you're spending on these clients per month, because you want it to be less, right? So the less amount of hours that you can spend internally, you can get the most value out of it. That's where you're going to have the most impact and benefit, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Which one?
I'm just looking at where I am.
Okay.
I know I've done I'm at monthly SEO reporting, and no, I haven't gotten to staffing and
Okay.
resources, I don't think. But I know I've watched something where it talks about like pricing it hourly.
Okay. Yep. I'm just going to share my screen with you real quick. Sorry, my dog is in the background going ham. I don't know if you can hear him scratching, but if you can't, just ignore him.
So I've definitely seen this. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I talk about this. I think I talk about this in the pricing and staff module. But this is basically, this is really the core of what's in the sales module too, because I talk about it. I'm working on how to build proposals, all that stuff, right? Blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, for local, I think this model doesn't really apply because the key here is the hourly rate. Like what I'm trying to get all of you guys within the blueprint, and you're already doing it because you're raising your prices, is to be able to raise your hourly rate, because that's where your increases in retainers come from, really, because you're not changing the amount of hours. What you're really changing is the amount that you're charging the client for it, right? So like I
Mm-hmm.
said, you don't have to charge them hours like you're doing, but you still want to understand how those hours break down. So operationally, you're profitable, and you can manage your profits. So basically what I like kind of want to walk you through is what I personally would do for a local campaign, right? So
Cool.
this is why I said, if you know what your hourly rate is, like let's just say it's $100. You can just kind of understand how much resource and impact you're having on each section. So this literally just breaks it down. And I know you have a different package. Like for you, I'd probably want to add in something like you're doing GMB optimizations and stuff.
Right.
So basically all I like to do here is just kind of break down, like this could be like GMB optimizations, kind of like break down the buckets of deliverables really. And then how much time you're going to be spending on that each month, forecasting it, right? So like, for example, how much time is it taking you to optimize the GMBs, right? And you can just make a little note in here too, like this says right here, if you hover over it, it says keyword research for existing pages. So I know exactly what those hours are for.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just a simple exercise that So this is the pricing template that I send to pitches, and it goes over super well because they can see everything. They're like, okay, I see everything. I know when you're doing it. My only concern is that your hourly rate's a little high, but you do good work, so we'll pay it, right? So this basically becomes a proposal, but then this also becomes the project plan too, right? Because now I know exactly what I'm doing in each month and how long that's going to take. I just have to map that into who to assign it to, blah, 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 right? So for you, I think it would be very helpful in terms of kind of getting back to your original question, which is, what do I need from the blueprint right now? Like, this is where you can start to take things off the shelf. So like for you, I wouldn't be doing technical SEO. So I would like skip those modules. Don't even worry about those right now. But definitely like some form of the website quality audit for sure. So like I call that technical SEO, but a website quality audit to me, just like no matter what, you're going to have to run a site crawl to like understand all the pages on the website, blah, blah, blah. That just also allows you to get all the data in one place. But then we also take that file and it pushes right into keyword research, right? So I would say you should definitely be doing a WQA. That will probably take like 10 hours, right? And this just needs to get a feel for over time. And then you're going to do keyword research, and then you just do like, okay, so if the website quality audit's going to take me like 2 weeks, we can start keyword research after 2 weeks. So at the end of month 1, we'll be putting in like 10 hours for keyword research. And then you see them doing, you can just kind of go through the plan in your head. And then after you're done with this, you can be like, okay, like we can use his website quality audit. We can use their keyword research, the on-page stuff, but like, you're probably not going to do content and link building. So you can leave those off. You know what I mean? And then the point is that then you can hyper focus on those 3 modules that you're going to be using, because you're using those right away, and go hyper deep on those, like really mastering keyword research, really mastering on page, and then going, okay, we got this down. Like, what else can we do? Then you can start adding content strategy. That's more that you can charge clients. And that's also another thing that you can tackle. And then finally get into like analytics and link building, So that's what I would do. So like start like going through the whole blueprint is cool for context, because I think you've kind of gotten a grasp of like really probably like the next 3 years of what you can do with your agency, right? Like this is kind of the next giant step that you can take to get up to that $5,000 to $10,000 a month retainers, right? You've got the tools here, but you've got to bridge that gap. And you're taking the right first step already by saying, all right, we're going to raise our services because we're doing that good of work. We're going to charge more for it. And you just keep on moving forward. And you've got all those modules that you can pull right from the blueprint to just stack those on whenever you're ready. But
okay, that makes total sense.
Start with this exercise, finish what I just did, just go through and be like, this is everything we do. This is how much I think that, we're spending hours per month. And then you can update these hours after you go through it with a client. Just make sure that you're like hyper aware of how much time it's taking you to do things, or your teams. But this becomes like a very simple management. And again, too, this is a proposal tool too. Like pitches love to see this, because it shows me that you got your shit together and you know exactly what you're going to do and when you're going to do it,
That makes total sense. Now, my other question is, because this is great, is the folder structure.
Yep.
So like I have the project management, and then I've broken it down basically by module and downloading everything in there.
Yep.
And then trying to figure out like what goes into a client's folder. I always hear you talk about the working drive.
Yep.
And it's funny. I'm not a metrics. I'm not a tracker. So like this whole thing to me, it's like learning a foreign language.
Yeah, I understand.
So really seeing how, and if you want, I can share my screen too and show you how I have it. So you can be like, well, that's interesting, but I would not do it that way.
Yeah, I think I'll just show you exactly how I run it for my agency right now, if you want. Okay. So this is just like our Weber's files. This is the whole agency in this file, right? Sales, this is where all the proposals go, right? So anytime I'm sending a proposal, the templates here, then I've got the actual proposals. So like literally all of the documents plus the pricing breakdown are in there, the exact, literally the same document that we just walked through. And then I have another folder for agreements, and that's where I put all those contracts. I share the contract template too in the sales module. And then folder 3, this is where all those PM files go. So this is client work, this is operations. So I just make a folder up here. This is where all those files live. So all of our PM trackers. So when you create that system, right, it lives in this folder. And then I just build the client folder around that, right? So then each of those client folders then gets added in to this client work folder. And each client has their own folder, right? So you're probably at that point too, right? Because the system's building it for you. Then, which one can I show you? maybe Arden. So there's always going to be some maybe slight variation, in the folders, because like, for example, this client wanted to add their own folder in that they control. So this is theirs. I also create a folder for client supplied documents. So like anytime a client sends me something in the beginning, reports, blah, 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 anything they want, I'll give them that link and they just upload them there. And then there's also like a sketch file that's in here, but their client workbook just stays right here in the main folder. Reports, this is where all of like the monthly stuff goes, anything that they would want to look at kind of like an ongoing basis. And then deliverables, this is where we store everything, right? So I'll just open this up for you. So like now this is where things get, I actually don't have a working folder for this client. But basically within this deliverables folder. So like another thing too that's big is you can see how anal I am, but naming convention is a very big thing. So standardizing your naming conventions across your company is really, really important. It sounds small and sounds stupid and it sounds really anal, but like if you haven't done this, this is really important because, for example, if in the future you have 20 people working for you and you're looking for a document and people are naming things however they want, you're going to be up here searching for like 30 minutes and it's going to be a complete waste of your time.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So yeah, I mean, it's really simple, man. I think so. Do you want to tell me, I guess, tell me where yours is going wrong and why it doesn't look like this?
So I have my root folder, which is our company name. And in it, it has the project management. It has all the 4 key modules. Then there's a client folder, which has all of the clients listed in it. And then I have subfolders out of the main folder, which is like labeled number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, based on the modules with all the, see what I've done?
Yeah. It's just a lot of folders.
So a ton of folders. So it's basically like there's a WQA folder. There's a link building folder. There's a keyword research folder. So all of the all of the sheets files and all of that are in there.
Okay. Yeah. That's not a simple fix. I would just say, just use just one deliverables folder. That's where you put anything that you're delivering. Again, it's simpler for the client too. One deliverables folder that you put everything that you send to the client goes in there. Unless it's a month.
I haven't created, like I have the client folder, but I haven't put anything in it. Like I haven't started doing all of that. So it's kind of where I'm housing all of the documents.
Okay.
And it's kind of a mess, but I mean, it's organized and I can understand it. So I know where to go if we're doing keyword research for a client, I can go, here it is. And then I have to make a copy of it into the client's folder. Because they're not automatically going there, right?
No. Yeah. Oh, sorry. So we also I have a templates folder too. That's the other thing. I have one folder.
You just copy the whole templates folder into the client's.
No. Sorry. Let me show you again. What I do is I have a templates folder that lives in the clients folder. So I don't have it in this folder because this agency is really new and I'm basically just doing a couple deliverables. But what I do is, so you go through the blueprint and I think you did this, but you just make a copy of all the templates and put them in one folder, not subfolders, just one folder that's templates. Those stay there, right? Then when you're taking on a new client, because you're not going to be doing the exact same thing for every client, you just go into the templates folder and then make a copy of the template and then save that to that client's deliverables file or the working file in the client folder. That's what I do. It's a lot less work. What you can also do too, is once you have client ones done, is you just go to a past client and make a copy of that one. Cause it's usually going to be kind of a little bit just of a copy paste job instead of going to the templates file.
And then your working file is the stuff that you have going on that you're not sharing.
Yeah,
correct?
because there's certain things like if you're doing like keyword research, you don't want a client to go in when it's half done and be like, what the fuck is this? So yeah, we have a working folder that they don't have access to. And that's only some clients. I mean, because most of our clients don't actually go into the folder. It's only a couple and I'll just do it for them. But it is definitely a good folder to have because you can like put scratch files in there, like anything that you just don't want the client to see.
Yeah. And then, I mean, those are the bulk of the questions I had. I have my assistant going through it too, and she's a Google Sheets person. So she's just she's bee's knees with all of this.
Nice.
It's challenging because it's local. We want to start stepping into larger arenas.
Mm-hmm.
So this is fantastic, but it's also figuring out because we don't charge hourly.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to charge hourly. That's the thing. Like I said, what you want to do is just be able to, you still want to understand the economics of the hours within your agency, because it's really just as much for you as it is for the client, because it's cool when you're working with like VAs and offshore people, because they're so cheap and you're just like, yeah, I'm making $3,000. This is paying for that. But like, it's very dangerous if you're measuring things at the top line like that and not at the grassroots ground level. I've been through it before where it's like, yeah, this client's paying us 10, our payroll is about this, blah, blah, blah. Like, you have to understand at the hours level, how long it's taking people to do things, because also when you're stacking clients and you're getting more and more retainers, like if you don't have a good hold on like resource management and like how long it's going to take one person to do keyword research, you tell the client it's going to take a day, but it takes them 3 days. And then it's like a traffic jam. Like then everything stops. It just all like, that's where headaches come in at scale.
No, that makes total sense.
Once one thing breaks, it all starts to break. So having a grasp like where you're at now, again, you don't have to be like, hey client, this is going to take 10 hours. It's more like you internally doing this. Like you can hide the hours column and just show them the monthly cost, like that, and they would be cool with that too,
Mm-hmm. And then you see all the work that's going in over
exactly.
the months and all that.
Yep.
Cool. I know I have some other questions, but I just lost them all. And I can't think of them at all.
Well, good. Let me see if anyone in here has any questions.
Oh yeah, we're in a big Zoom. Are there people on here?
There's 3 people, Matt, Payman, and Ryan. If any of y'all have any questions, feel free to drop something in here.
One of the things that I find, like looking at your flow, I'm like, oh, I could just copy this, but I'm like, it doesn't necessarily work when we're working in the project management as to tasks and breaking them up. Yep. Oh, and I remember the other question. But what I find challenging is like, because I usually just crush myself the first month or two.
Mm-hmm.
And like with local, it's so much different with local, because it's literally like you can do on page, you can do, the technical stuff, and you can do it and you're done with it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you have someone write a blog article like once every couple weeks,
which is awesome. I agree with you.
That, and you do the GMB, but then, and from where I came from in my training was like, and I love what I'm learning here was, and don't shoot me for saying this, but when I first got into SEO and all this, it was, having someone create Web 2.0s and use PBN links,
mm-hmm.
which can have some benefits. But if you're going to really do it like this, it's like, okay, so we need to do link building. And local, it's going to be less, but I still think link building for local is good. So you can kind of add that in on a smaller scale.
They work, man. You definitely want to try and budget it in. I mean, so you're still only working with holistic companies, correct?
Well, the whole rebrand is now we're health and wellness, purpose driven, intentionally based. So we're kind of, it's always what it's been, but the holistic the name is changing and all of that. So that
if an e-commerce company came to you, would you turn them down or take them?
Take them. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So basically what I was going to say with link building is that if you're working with only one industry, it becomes much better for small business SEO, because you don't have to spend any time or resources prospecting or outreach. You just kind of build a database. So you hire one prospector to just prospect for that niche, build you a database of like guest post opportunities, just get yourself one writer. And like, that's the thing too, is that your clients don't need 20 links a month. They need like 2, maybe 3 over 6 to 12 months, So if you can get them 1 to 3 links a month, their sites are going to see a positive result.
Yeah.
And so like basically what I would do is if I were to go back and do that, like I said, I would build a database of have one prospector who's just constantly building a database, and then have one person who you trust to write, go through each one of those, contact the opportunity, teach them how to send a pitch, and just basically teach them, those two to be your link building team. You have a prospector and you have one guest post person who's doing the outreach and writing the articles. And then like, you don't need that to scale too much because, it's, and then once you have a database too, it becomes easier. You don't need as many opportunities. You prospect for 1,000 solid opportunities and you get a 30% success rate. That's 300 sites, um, which is pretty good. So that's what I would do. And that can be something that you can either add on like as a tack on package for clients, which I would probably do, or you can just start that in like month 4, just like after you've, so like, that's kind of the cool thing about what I'm showing you here with the spreadsheet too, is that you can then visualize kind of like your sprints. So like the first 2 months would be like you said, like your title changes, your on page, your keyword research, you sprint those out and then you're done. But then after that, then you can reallocate those resources because you have the hours to then link building in month 3 and then just let that team run, you know? And then that frees up your like SEO people to then go work on another client,
No, that's really great. And that makes a lot of sense. Now putting all the pieces together, I'm going to throw 2 more questions.
Mm-hmm.
One, because right now because it's local, would you have, because like I'm literally in the process of bringing on a team, starting off part-time based upon hours, but I was going to do keyword research, link building / outreach, on page, and then like the developer technical stuff that, that needs to be fixed on the site. Would you double up on any of them, or would you keep it all siloed for their job roles?
I would. Oh, you mean double up in job roles?
Yeah, just because they're not going to have that much work.
Yeah. Until you can book people's schedule at full, then you can have them double up. Because what happens with offshore people is that if you don't give them a full plate of work, they're going to find it somewhere else, and you run the risk of them running off. So if you can either that or work out some sort of retainer that might be above what their hourly is just to keep them there. Like, like I wouldn't suggest having a developer do anything but development.
Yeah, no, that one I would keep separate, but like someone that can do keyword research and link building or something.
For sure. Definitely. And that's the thing about local SEO too, is that for you, I would probably be hedging on people who are really good communicators, meaning that can write and can speak. So whatever country that you're hiring from, like make sure that they can, like I would probably even go after like trying to hire bloggers, because they can easily be taught keyword research. It's not rocket science. They can easily be taught on page, and then they can write the page titles. That's how you're going to get more out of these people, is getting somebody who can communicate, because then you can basically train them to be SEO, end-to-end SEO professionals, for local means keyword research, GMB, and on-page optimizations, and that's it. And then you get another people doing outreach, But even that, like, I don't think you need to. I think you can get like 2 to 3 people that can support you full time for like $1,000 a month that can stop you from ever doing SEO ever again, which is like, I think your next big goal should be for you to not do SEO anymore, Oh
my gosh, that would be the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
I mean, I've already been taking a lot of steps back. So a few more questions too. So, the way we do, and I know you do it differently, the way we do it is it's okay. So it's $2,000 a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
That includes link building. How would you cause I understand adding in add-ons. How do I add in, like, I've always pitched it like, I have my VA write it. Like, it's not a great article, but he's a good article. He'll write a blog article and I include that in linking them because I include it all in SEO.
I actually think for local, you should not, you definitely do content as an add-on, because that's something that they understand the value of and can contextualize, like, oh, blogs. Yeah, we need blogs, right? And writing costs money. So we get that. But for links, I foresee that being a difficult conversation with like a yoga studio owner to be like, hey, you need links. Because they're like, the fuck's a link? This is bullshit, So for that, I think you should budget it into the retainer. And that's why resource management is so important for you, so you can understand how you really should be pricing this. Because if it's going to take you 20 hours to get each link and you're paying for that, that becomes a problem. So, I think that it's like we used to, back when I was running Weber's the first time, we used to include links in the cost too, links and content. And it's much easier to sell because people understand it. They like that flat fee pricing. It's so like for where you're at, I have no problem with it, because the most important thing is just getting as much content, like get money in the door, and you're going through a process now where you're starting to sort it out in the back end. which is good. This is where you're supposed to be. So links is one of those things you're going to have to figure out. But then once you get to a certain point, you work with certain clients who understand like the value and the importance of links, then you can have that conversation and charge for links. And then this no longer becomes a problem. But like this initial part is why this resource management is going to be so critical for you. So you can understand, like, it happens really easily for agencies to not like be managing their resources, and it's costing them a ton of money to acquire links or to write content, and they don't know it, and they think it's costing them like $100, but it's costing them $100, $200, and a lot of headaches. So it's just really important to have like a close tie on that as you go through this process.
And then speaking of links, just for my person doing the outreach,
mm-hmm.
Would you recommend, and I know you said it, but just to remind me, would I create just my own like Gmail account for them?
Yes. There's a couple of ways you can do it. I usually like to use personas, meaning you create like a fictional holistic blogger. You create an account for them. Even I like to start up a WordPress blog for them, and like get a couple articles paid for talking about holistic stuff, because that way when you're pitching holistic websites, they see that this person is a real holistic blogger, and your acceptance rate is going to go through the roof. So if you're doing that, and then as you start to scale out and maybe take on more companies, you build personas in different verticals. So you have your holistic health, wellness, they can write on like fitness, that whole niche. Then you get like maybe like a business person or a social media person to build that, blah, blah, blah. That's when you're really trying to hit scale. But honestly, in my opinion, once you get to a certain point, you just outsource link building. That's where I'm at now. Like, I don't touch link building because it's just, it slows us down way too much, and it's not worth the money.
So you just pay for links, or?
Yeah, we use a company that I'm really comfortable with, that I have a really good relationship with the owner, and that's that.
Okay, that makes sense. I think, yeah. And I would say once we get to the scale point where, and I see what Payman's saying. Yeah,
that's the goal, right? So the progression is you start off taking whatever you can get, which is where you were, I think, when we first started talking. Now you've gotten to the point where you've got a good service, you're turning into process, you're starting to scale it. In the next 6 months to a year, you're going to hit, you're going to do very well, right? But then you're going to hit another point where it's like, okay, now we need to figure out how we're going to raise our rates again to get to the next hump. And that usually means building a couple local to people local, like really turning it into like a traditional style agency a little bit, and that's when you really start to do like everything quality, link building quality, content quality, build yourself up to the next level. And then this is where I feel like I'm at, where like I won't touch, like you're coming to me for high touch SEO consulting services, basically, where we're going to charge you $250 an hour. We're going to do like a lot of the legwork for you, but most of it is going to be us telling you what to do. And then it's going to be up to you to do it. That means content, and that means links. Like, I'm telling you that you need them. It's your job to figure out how to do it. And that to me is how you scale the next level and get to be like a big agency, which is through consulting. You get up to $500 an hour, $1,000 an hour for like solving big problems. That's what I see as kind of like the progression. And that's not saying that you have to move up to the next one, because a lot of people are super happy, having a handful of clients and doing whatever. But that's just kind of how I see it. So links are one of those problems that you figure out, I think, when you're in like the first half of that story, because it's super important. And like, people love working with agencies that build links because you can do everything and you can get a lot of clients. But it gets to a certain point where operationally, like, holy shit, it's just better to get it out. Like it's not like get rid of that revenue, because it's more of a headache than anything, and focus on improving the smallest part, like just a small faction, and doing that the best, and charging the most amount of money for it and spending the least amount of time doing it.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. So let's just touch on this, since it's something that I have been doing, but I'm veering away from, but because it works, it's still beneficial. And I know you don't use them, but the thought of having, because my VA has been creating Web 2.0s, and I'll drop a PBN every once in a while, but we're running for local, running a press release, what are your, it feels like I was talking to you before and watching the video. It feels a little, it's not black hat, it's not white hat. It's like kind of in the middle gray.
It doesn't matter what hat it is. It just doesn't work. It's just, to me, it's just not a good business decision. there's absolutely no data that's ever shown to me that in the last 5 years that's worked. And I'm not talking shit. I'm just telling you facts.
No, I
So
appreciate it.
like, why, like, if that person, why would you spend your resources again on something that, again, the goal is to do less work and get paid more to do it? When you're doing more, you're making more work that the client doesn't know or care about either. It's not like maybe a press release, they could see that being like a positive thing. But like, if you're going to do that, in my opinion, like, again, getting stuck, like, doing that is taking a step backwards in your pricing. But if you want to take a step up in your pricing, doing like real local press with like real outreach to bloggers, putting together a list of influencers. There's a case study on Weber's for this company called Dr. Smood. Really good example of how, like, I was in an agency similar to where you were at that time. This is probably 4 years ago. And like, we signed this local client, really good little coffee chain. And like, instead of doing that, which we were doing, which was like a lot of PBNs and like a lot of guest posting, I was like, you know what, we're going to charge them more. I'm going to tell them, I'm going to build a strategy. I'm going to be like, we're doing local influencers for you. We're going to, like, reach out to local press. And this is all stuff it's easy outreach, like, same prospect or same outreach person. It's just changing the target, but like, also the value that comes from doing like Web 2.0s and like a press release versus like, hey, here's a list of 100 local influencers who are in the health and holistic space. Like, we've contacted them, like, they're interested in working with you in some shape or form. Take it from here. Like, that has a ton of value, which you can also charge a lot more for. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really kind of doing the same process. Like, so my point is, like, why allocate your VA to work on a Web 2.0 when you can have them finding local influencers? You know what I mean? It's the same thing. Same, he's doing something a little bit different, obviously, but he's spending the same amount of time, but like, the value of what you'd be delivering and the output of that is like that is also how you get to like the next level of the agency, but like doing work like that, and it's all the same process, it's just, this is where, like, I implore people in the blueprint too, to like think, like, all you guys to like think kind of outside of what's in there, like taking these things and putting your own spin on top of it. And like, you can charge a pretty penny for that service,
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. I
yeah.
like that.
So I'm not knocking that. Like, I don't know if it works, but I do know it's just not a good use of your time as an agency. Like, nobody, like, no, like, the type of companies that you want to work with are not going to want to pay you to do that,
Exactly. No, and that's what I want to get away from.
Yeah.
And it's taking the next step up, and it's also at the same time getting away from it, but making sure I have the stuff that replaces it as I'm doing it.
Yep.
If it's having its effect. Giving the VAs that I bring on access to the training, I know I have LastPass, so I use that to share. Is there a way to only let them see specific modules?
You send them the link. So like, Podia will give you a link. So what I'll do is, like, I can kind of show you if you want. I mean, I can show you how I manage. It's all done through Slack. So basically, I don't know if it's going to load, but I'm sending them. So like, I'm training a couple of new people here, and I use Loom on top. So I'll send them a link to the training. It'll be like, here, like, review the content marketing module. And then, like, work on this document, and then post it in the management, tag me in the comment, and we just go back and forth via Slack. And then I make Loom videos that are like showing, like, you did this wrong, like, change this, do this. But I'm sending him link by link, but there's no way to only give them access to one specific module. Like, they have to get access to the whole blueprint.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's not a problem for me.
No, it's more, I mean, I want to respect your stuff, but also it's if I'm building a team and siloing them.
Yeah.
You get that one forward thinker's like, I'm going to take the whole thing and go do my own thing. I mean, I guess that's the price you pay for giving them access to it.
Yeah. I mean, if they really wanted to, it's just like, I feel you, I guess. But I mean, in the same sense, it's only gonna make them better. They're only going to learn and be more lethal. I mean, I would love it if some of my people did that, but in my experience, none of my offshore people have ever did.
Maybe we think differently. I'm like, hey, I'll go through the whole thing. But
that's a lot of initiative, man.
Yeah, it is. Cool. Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, my next biggest challenge is really with the project management template folder and really just kind of creating the local workflow of what we're doing.
Yeah, I think that. Sorry, I was typing a chat. You said your next to create the local workflow.
Because I think this would help. But like the main one, which it lists all the clients, where it lists all the tasks, and then
Yep.
you create the individual plan.
I encourage you to build something that speaks to your thinking process. This is my thinking process. I think this, but like you take this concept and you put it together something that is how your brain functions.
No, I love it. And well, my brain doesn't function around this at all. So it's fun because it's forcing me to learn.
Yep.
Because like for me, when I look at it, like I can knock out in month one, 90% of this, right?
Yep.
So then I have to justify months 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
It's not justified, but this is, remember we had this initial conversation about you going month to month. This is why you can't be month to month.
Right.
Because that shows you everything, that like you're doing all the work up front and you still might be profitable on it. But if they leave in month 2, you're literally giving up. If you're thinking about this in terms of revenue, instead of revenue, you're giving up like 90% of your profit by not maintaining them, So have you started pushing contracts on people?
So that's literally today. I just put in an automation sequence into ActiveCampaign that's sending to all of our clients, all of our prospects, everybody that's like, hey, end of the new year, Holistic Mate is going by, the new company is coming out. And with that, our new pricing, new structure, contracts, like all of that.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Because it's just, it's just
good, man. I'm happy for you. How's your wife doing?
She's good. She's crazy, stressed, 3 kids, running an agency and trying to scale and put in stuff and end of the year.
But honestly, man, like you guys, I think it was probably less than 2 months ago that we first spoke, and like the amount of progress that you've made is tremendous. Like this is really hard stuff, and you're making like a lot of big changes.
It is.
But I think you're already starting to see the impact. But I think in 6 months you're going to look back and be like, this is a whole new life that we have.
It's just a matter. I definitely want to get through the rest of the blueprint, because what I really want to start being able to do is, start going after slightly larger clients. Local is great, but I could build $1 million agency off a local.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But
I mean, also too, when you say local too, like you don't necessarily have, I think this is a misconception that people make sometimes, that they think that local only means small, but to me, local also means chains. It means franchises. It means, so like local SEO is just the type of SEO, because you're dealing with GMB, you're dealing with the maps pack. So if that's what you, if that's what you enjoy, but number 2, if you're really good at it, like I don't think you get into enterprise. I think you get into enterprise local. You just start branding yourself as, we are a local SEO agency for franchise. We are a local SEO agency for multiple location yoga studios. And you have that as a minimum, that you charge per location, and you charge $1,000 per location and you can't work with us if you have less than 10 locations. So that's a whole nother option that you can go down. Because if you're comfortable with this process and you get really good at it, then you can get to the same revenue level the same way.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay, I think that's all I have. I owe you a testimonial video too.
Yeah, no, take your time, man. I'm glad that you're going through it and really getting value from it. That's really what's important to us.
Yeah, it's fantastic stuff. So I appreciate the time. I appreciate you being on here, and I hope anybody else that's watching getting some stuff out of it, because I know, as you see me post in the Slack group, it's been great, but it's also been like, you feel like you're a fish in this like big sea now, and you're like, I don't know, does everybody else like totally understand this? And I have to realize that it isn't easy, and that's what's really cool about it.
It is difficult, man, especially with a young family. Kudos to you.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, good for you. All right, man. So I'll repost this for people. Some of you guys asked, and
cool.
We'll chat in Slack, man.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, man. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.